How's everybody doing? I want to thank Steve and Judy Rumler. I want to thank April Rivera for allowing me to speak. I really appreciate this opportunity. I want to thank the countless people who've helped steer it straight over the years, become the premier student awareness program in schools. I want to thank all the people who've helped me with my documentary films. I want to thank my crazy redheaded wife who waited 14 years for an inmate to decide to embrace his God-given mission. And I want to thank God for whom I live, for his glory. I also want to thank our pain patients who are amongst us, posing as people who support this movement. Welcome. Welcome. Thank you for being with us. And of course, the lobbyists and the pharmaceutical reps that are here among us, posing as people who care about this movement. They're here just to blend in and see what it is we're saying, so they know where to fight and how to strategically spend their millions fighting us. Welcome. Welcome. I know you're here. We know you're here. We want to welcome, and we want you to make sure you listen. Make damn sure you listen. Because we're not only fed up, we're pissed off. In December 1995, the FDA approved OxyContin, thinking it would not lead to abuse because of its controlled release. They did not understand addiction. In 2001, after a violent car accident, I was handed a bottle of 365 80-milligram OxyContin, along with Xanax, Fioricet, Scalexin, Mobic, and Neurontin, and sent home with 3 cracked vertebrae and a neck brace from the hospital. Within 6 months, I was seeing 67 doctors, and I was getting in excess of 9,000 opiates every single month. Purdue Pharma lied about the abuse potential of OxyContin, and with no scientific evidence or studies, they convinced the FDA to give it carte blanche as it began America's epidemic of opiate crisis. Connecticut's Sackler family, if you're not familiar with them, you need to be familiar with them. And Purdue Pharma made billions, ladies and gentlemen, made billions, while America lost loved ones to not only the diversion and abuse of these drugs, but, listen, to the simple prescribing of these drugs. This is not only about overprescribing and abuse, this is about prescribing and addiction. That's what this is about. In 2001, Connecticut Attorney General Robin Blumenthal brought it to America's attention that we had a problem. Ladies and gentlemen, 2001, it was brought to America's attention that Purdue Pharma had created a problem. And it took 6 years until 2007, where people right in this audience fought Purdue Pharma, and they pleaded guilty to misleading the public, and they were fined $600 million. But what's disgusting on top of that is the 3 top executives who committed crime. They were fined $34.5 million and sentenced to 400 hours of community service. And then nothing changed. Kentucky filed a lawsuit in 2007, and 8 years later, they settled with the pharmaceutical industry, Purdue Pharma, for $24 million. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, advocates. Here we are, splintered across America. We are siloed, in disregard to the solutions to this problem. And Big Pharma and the insurance industry, they don't care. And Congress is not listening. They're not listening. For years, many champions here and others throughout the country lobbied and testified and fought hard for Congress to pass the Comprehensive Addiction Recovery Act, a bill to finally legislate what industry was getting away with profit from addiction. And on July 13, 2016, a hollow, empty CARA bill was passed and signed by President Obama, placating this audience. It was unfunded. It was an unfunded hollow bill. Now I want to be clear, because people attack me and that some progress is better than no progress. And I disagree. And we'll agree to disagree, but I don't believe some progress is good enough. I don't want some progress. I don't want a hollow CARO bill. I want real progress. The hollow carrot bill was passed without any funding. And what it was done for was to allow these politicians to go home to their districts and tell their voters that they signed a bill standing up to fight addiction, and that's not what they did. It's not what they did. President Obama, as Director Botticelli said, has asked that building down there to fund this. He is doing the right thing at this juncture. They are not. They are not. At the very same time CARA was passed, this past spring, another piece of legislation was passed. The Ensuring Patient Access and Effective Drug Enforcement Act of 2016. It sailed through the House, it sailed through the Senate without any kind of public discourse, and President Obama signed it. It hinders the DEA from going after pill mills and doctors who are overprescribing. It hinders them from going after wholesalers and distributors who push their pills. And it protects the pharmaceutical industry from committing crimes with medication. The measure was backed and lobbied by manufacturers, wholesalers, and pharmacy chains who are not doing enough to keep addictive drugs away from the drug addicts and the dealers who are suffering and plaguing this society with these medications. Congress was listening, but they weren't listening to us. They were listening to their pockets. When I testified, House Minority Leader McCarthy came around and said, "You're very passionate. You're one of the most passionate people we've had, but this opiate thing, you kind of need to let go. You need to focus your attention on prevention." That's what he told me. He said that ship had sailed. He told me that ship had sailed. He said, "We have 16 lobbyists for every one member of Congress." I said, "Do you mean to tell me the 535 men and women we sent to that Hill, they have 16-to-1 ratio of lobbyists from the pharmaceutical industry?" He said, "That's what I'm trying to tell you." I said, "Well, then we need to speak louder. We must come together. We must not be siloed any longer. We have to stop arguing amongst ourselves over pictures and stigma and start speaking with one voice." Congress isn't listening. They're not listening. It's time to get them to listen or get a new Congress. Listen, don't come here and just get fed up. Don't get fed up. Go home and put your signs up. Go home, don't put your feet up. Pick your phone up. Pick your pen up. Bombard them with phone calls. Bombard them with letters. And go see them in your districts and you tell them, "You don't do something, I'm going to vote you, and I'm going to call everybody I know, and I'm going to tell everybody on my social media sites that you need to be reelected. You need to be taken out of office, and someone needs to take your spot," because they're not listening to us. They're not listening to us. We must no longer be splintered. We must no longer be siloed. We must no longer be silent. We must no longer be willing to allow Congress to ignore us. They will listen. We have to force them. They will hear us. We have to force them, but we have to speak with one voice. We have to come together, and we have to hold Big Pharma and the insurance industry responsible for the murder of our loved one, because that's what it is. Don't stop. This is a movement that's making a difference. This fed up movement made a difference with the FDA. This movement made a difference with the president's language. This movement can make a difference, but we all need to support it. Big, big support. Don't stop. Don't get off your phones. Don't get off your letters until they listen. We're fed up.